After my son finished his A-levels, I ordered a limited edition supercar as a gift for him. But then I saw a video of him delivering food on an electric bicycle. I was quite moved, thinking he was experiencing the hardships of life. Just as I was about to remind him to take care of himself, I came across a WhatsApp status from the underprivileged student my wife had been supporting. "Thank you for the gift. I'll work even harder." It read. Nolan Patel, usually dressed modestly, was now wearing a bespoke suit, handcrafted leather shoes, and a Rolex Submariner, posing for a photo with my wife. Behind them was the limited edition sports car I had carefully chosen for my son. A surge of anger rose within me, and I couldn't help but call my wife. "Danna, if you can't handle being a CEO's wife properly, I'll just replace you." Ding. Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. "Darling, don't joke around. I'm planning our son's birthday party." The automatic response from the other end of the line made me pause, a sense of absurdity washing over me. "How dare you ask? Making our son deliver takeaways in this scorching heat. Is he even your son?" Danna Roberts retorted, not backing down. "What nonsense are you talking about? What have we done to upset you?" she asked, bewildered. "Why are you treating Alvin Williams and Nolan Patel differently? Do you know what your son is doing right now? He's delivering takeaways, earning just a few quid a day. Have you ever felt sorry for him? His arms are sunburnt and peeling, and he's only 18. Danna was taken aback for a moment, but quickly brushed it off. "The boy wants to experience life. I can't stop him, can I? As for Nolan, he's never had it easy growing up. What's wrong with him enjoying himself for a couple of days?" "Oh, so our son is experiencing life, while her sponsored student Nolan is being compensated for years of hardship." I snorted coldly, my tone hostile. "Let's not get into everything else. But that Rolex Submariner was a limited edition I specially ordered from abroad for Alvin. There are only 8 in the world. What gives you the right to just give it away to someone else?" Danna was silent for a few seconds before responding righteously. "Alvin just turned 18. He doesn't even have a driver's license. It's better off with Nolan. He's 19 and just got his license. What's wrong with a young lad getting some practice?" Before I could interject, she continued, "Besides, sports cars are dangerous. I'm just looking out for our son." How had I never realized this woman had such a knack for twisted logic? Danna was growing impatient. "All right, I've got things to do, so let's end this conversation." I keenly overheard an estate agent's voice in the background. "Ms. Roberts, these are all the available properties near the University of Zhongbei at the moment. Have you decided which one to buy for the lad's accommodation?" "University of Zhongbei? Isn't that the low-ranking university Nolan got into? You're buying him a house too?" I exclaimed in shock, about to demand an explanation when the call was abruptly ended. She wasn't arranging to buy a house for our own son's university, but she's so invested in a low-ranking institution, which Nolan only got into with additional points for being from a poor county. Thinking about how Danna couldn't stop talking about Nolan, I felt even more frustrated. Nolan was a disadvantaged student sponsored by our family. During a previous charity event in a rural village, Danna was moved by his tenacious attitude towards education and insisted on sponsoring him. In my view, there were many students at that secondary school who studied harder or came from even poorer backgrounds, but Danna seemed to have fixated on him. In her words at the time, she felt a connection with the lad. I reluctantly agreed then, thinking that if she really wanted to, it would make her happy and give her something to do. After all, a few £1,000,000 was nothing if it kept her occupied. Being just a wealthy housewife can be quite boring at times. But I never imagined that while she was somewhat restrained back then, she's now started to show such blatant favoritism. I rubbed my face, desperately wanting to know how Alvin was really doing. "Mr. Williams, there are several multi-party negotiations this afternoon and a dinner party in the evening." My assistant interrupted my thoughts, informing me of the remaining schedule for the day. I furrowed my brow, still feeling uneasy, and decided to speak up. "Cancel everything. The assistant asked, puzzled, Mr. Williams, should we cancel the important market expansion meetings as well? I stood up immediately, loosening the tie around my neck, and gave a concise order. Yes, book a flight immediately. I'm going back to the UK. Right now, nothing is more important than my son. After a year abroad, I returned to England, only to be greeted by my son wearing a delivery uniform. As I looked at his sun-darkened face and noticeably thinner frame, my eyes immediately welled up with tears. When I left, Alvin Williams still had the appearance of a bespectacled, fair-skinned, and gentle young man. How could he have changed so much in such a short time? Dad? Alvin called out, seeming a bit shy without making any further gesture. I immediately pulled him into an embrace, chuckling as I scolded. What's all this then? Don't you recognize your own father anymore? Have I been wasting my money on you? Alvin's body stiffened, but he briefly returned the hug before stammering out a response. No, it's just, your return was so sudden. You didn't give me a few days' notice, so I'm still a bit dazed. I kept my arm around his shoulders as we walked out of the airport. All right then, I'll stay with you for a while this time. We'll see if you're still dazed after that. Let's go home. I chatted and laughed with Alvin, but inwardly I felt cold at the thought of going home. Before getting off the plane, I had called both Danna and Alvin, but Danna hadn't even picked up. When I mentioned this, Alvin mumbled a response. She might be out shopping with Nolan. He's starting university soon, after all. They need to get some things for uni. Aren't you starting university too? Why isn't she taking you shopping? A few days ago, she was posting on WhatsApp about buying Nolan a Rolex Submariner. Does he even know how to wear it properly? I was quite displeased about this. The thought of facing those two at home was incredibly frustrating, so I changed our course. Alvin, let's not go home just yet. Can we go to your place? We should have a proper father-son chat. I came back this time specifically to discuss your situation. It was important to talk things through with my son first. All right, Alvin agreed, though his smile seemed forced. For a moment, he appeared reluctant, but I didn't notice, only gently advising, you shouldn't work yourself so hard with the delivery job. While no profession is inherently better than another, our family doesn't need you to be doing deliveries. I understand. Thank you, Dad, Alvin replied, though it sounded like he was just humoring me. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, I fell silent. We took a taxi to the entrance of the estate, but a security guard stopped us. This is a high-end estate. No deliveries allowed, the guard said haughtily to my son. Alvin lowered his head, unable to speak. I coldly interjected, no deliveries allowed? What about residents? He's the owner of number 1, Block 5, 24th Street. What kind of training do you give your security? How unprofessional. This was the gift I had given him when he got into a top 6th form college. The guard continued to sneer. Sir, don't say that. I know all the owners here, and it's not his anymore. It belongs to young Master Patel now. I don't have the authority to let him in, do I? I furrowed my brow, immediately realizing who this young Master Patel must be. I turned to look at Alvin, shocked. Patel? The owner of the house is Nolan Patel? Alvin remained silent for a moment before slowly nodding. I pulled my son close, gripping his shoulders and looking him in the eye. Alvin, tell Dad, what's really going on here? It's nothing, Dad. Please don't ask. Alvin instinctively averted his gaze. Feeling something was amiss, I persisted in questioning him until he finally spoke through gritted teeth. It's Mum who made me transfer it. She said I wouldn't have any use for it anyway. I was furious. So she just gave your house to him? She didn't even mention this to me. As I was seething, I happened to see Nolan and Danna walking towards the gate, chatting and laughing. Yes, Mom. I thought that outfit looked quite nice, just a bit pricey for haute couture. Danna laughed, covering her mouth. Oh, my dear boy, that's nothing. You're wearing a Rolex Submariner now, aren't you? They both froze when they saw Alvin and me standing at the estate entrance, their steps faltering. Nolan was the first to greet me, his expression uneasy. Uncle Zane. I didn't even look at him. My fists clenched so tight they creaked as I stared at Danna. What did he just call you? Mum? That's how it is. I just thought Nolan was sensible. So I made him my godson. Otherwise, he wouldn't call me that. You were frowning outside. And now you're still like this at home. In the living room, Danna Roberts sat on the sofa, anxiously explaining to me. Beside her, Nolan Patel's face was full of sincerity. It's like this, Uncle Zane. I'm really grateful to Aunt Danna for recognizing me and giving me this opportunity. Without you too, I might still be working in some remote village. My gaze shifted between them, and I let out a meaningful chuckle. So, becoming a godson means you can take over the house? Danna's face flashed with obvious discomfort at my words, but she still continued with her twisted logic. Of course we need to prepare gifts when making someone a godson, right? Especially for families like ours. Wouldn't it be embarrassing for you if the gift wasn't substantial enough? As she said this, she glanced at Alvin Williams, who had remained silent all along. Besides, won't all your assets go to your son eventually? I've just prepared a little something for Nolan. Alvin lowered his head uncomfortably when he heard the conversation turn to him. I gave them a cold look, not saying another word, just taking a sip of the tea the housekeeper had prepared earlier. The atmosphere became tense, and no one spoke. Seeing that I wasn't very enthusiastic, Nolan spoke up pitifully. I'm sorry, Uncle Zane. I didn't mean to cause you so much trouble. How about this? I'll return everything to you to calm you down. I raised an eyebrow but still didn't say anything. This act of enduring humiliation to return what was already mine. Who taught him that? As Nolan said this, he stood up and started to take off his clothes. Oh, Nolan, don't do this. What kind of behavior is this? Danna quickly stood up to mediate, her eyes frequently glancing at me. Zane, Nolan is still a child. How can you ask for gifts back after they've been given? Are you trying to embarrass me? Can't you be more generous? I saw that Nolan had taken off his jacket and shoes but was reluctant to remove the Rolex Submariner, which made my anger rise. I took a deep breath to control myself. All right, stop undressing. Seeing this, Danna's face lit up with a smile, and she gently grabbed my arm. See, it's just your temper. I admit I was wrong about this. Nolan, thank Uncle Zane. Nolan paused in his undressing and then obediently responded. Thank you, Uncle Zane. Danna was very satisfied with his reaction and quickly urged me. Zane, I think Nolan is really smart and sensible. Why don't you make him your godson too? Alvin's face turned slightly pale when he heard this. I caught his expression, and my anger rose again. You're saying this in front of our son? Aren't you afraid of hurting his feelings? Me make Nolan my godson? In your dreams. With that, I shook off Danna's hand. Danna's face froze, but she quickly suppressed it and then spoke without restraint. Anyway, Alvin isn't your biological son. You've been able to care for him so much all these years. What's wrong with having another godson now? I was stunned, looking at Danna in disbelief, then instinctively looking at my son. What nonsense are you talking about? But Alvin's expression remained calm, and he smiled bitterly. It's okay, Dad. I've known for a long time. I glared fiercely at Danna, pointing at her, too angry to speak for a while. What did we agree on before? Danna, did you take my words as wind in your ears, or what? Danna looked a bit uncomfortable, and after a while, she mumbled. I accidentally let it slip before. Why are you getting so angry? I'm getting so angry? I was almost infuriated by her, barely containing the fire in my heart. Danna, have I been too indulgent with you all these years? Why didn't you tell me about all these things happening in our family? Stop it. The slap didn't land as Nolan Patel grabbed the arm mid-swing. The strength of a teenage boy at this age was not to be underestimated. I paused, my attempts to break free thwarted by his determined grip. When he turned to face me, his eyes were filled with hatred. You dare to stop me? I snarled, meeting Nolan's gaze. Get out of my way. You have no right to speak in the Williams household. Who do you think you are to interfere? In the next moment, I mercilessly kicked Nolan aside. He clutched his stomach, stumbling back with a cry of pain before collapsing to the ground. Danna Roberts screamed and rushed to check on him. "Nolan, are you all right? Did that hurt?" Nolan's eyes were red-rimmed, his face contorted in pain. Seeing this, Danna looked up at me, her eyes blazing with fury. "Zane Williams, if anything happens to Nolan, you'll have hell to pay. Have you gone mad? Is this how you behave after coming back from abroad? How can you be such a bastard?" Her words only fueled my anger further. She'd have hell to pay? I hadn't said a word about how she'd mistreated our son, and now she was turning the tables on me? When Danna and I first got married, she was diagnosed as infertile. To fulfill her wish for a child, we adopted Alvin Williams. We promised each other then that Alvin would be our own flesh and blood. Even if she recovered and could have children later, we wouldn't have any others. And we would never tell Alvin about his true identity. Now, not only had she let Alvin know, but she was also blatantly favoring Nolan, making Alvin feel even worse. In all our years of marriage, I had never laid a hand on her, always providing the best for her. And this is what I got in return. "Fine, Danna. Let's see how you make me pay." As I moved to continue, Alvin grabbed my arm. "Dad, stop it." I looked at Alvin, not understanding why he was stopping me. But Alvin shook his head and spoke through gritted teeth. "Mum didn't tell me. I overheard it by accident. It wasn't intentional. Please stop." I took several deep breaths, barely managing to suppress my anger. "I'll listen to you, son. But this matter is far from over." With that, I turned to Nolan and roared, "Get out. You have nothing to do with us anymore. What are you, thinking you're something special just because you've got a Rolex and a car?" Nolan froze, his face quickly flushing with embarrassment. Finally, he exploded, lifting his chin defiantly. "Who are you to tell me to leave? Everything I have was given to me by my mum. It has nothing to do with you. You're given an inch and you think you're my elder." Hearing this, my heart sank. For the past few years, I had been busy with work, and Danna had been handling Nolan's support. I trusted her completely, so I rarely inquired about it. Nolan had been in a boarding school before, only coming to live with us after his A-levels. During that time, I had been traveling extensively, even spending a year abroad. So he naturally assumed the company belonged to Danna, which explained his disrespect towards me. "Nolan, please, that's enough," Danna said, gently tugging on Nolan's arm, but she couldn't contain his temper. He sneered, looking at Alvin standing beside me and laughing mockingly. "Let me tell you the truth. I deliberately bullied Alvin before, so what? He should feel honored to be bullied by me. Did he really think he was the young master here? If I'm not cut out for it, you think he is?" I saw Alvin's fists clench, his knuckles turning white. He tried to speak several times but couldn't get the words out. I turned to Nolan, my tone hostile. "What do you mean?" Nolan smiled meaningfully. "It's quite simple." "Nolan, stop it. Shut up." Danna cried out, realizing what was coming. But Nolan, red-eyed, shouted it out anyway. "Because I'm Danna Roberts' real son. What right does Alvin Williams have? He thinks he can be my equal in this family? Dream on." The words fell like a thunderbolt in the silent room. I stared, completely stunned. Danna Roberts turned pale, her body trembling uncontrollably. Zane Williams looked at Danna with reddened eyes, utterly bewildered. "Mom, why won't you officially acknowledge me? I'm your biological son. I've had enough of these years of sneaking around." He fumed, his anger directed squarely at Alvin Williams. "Why should this bastard be the official heir? He doesn't deserve it. And Zane, what right does that freeloader have to lay hands on me?" As he ranted like a mad dog, venting years of pent-up frustration, he finally stood there panting, his eyes bloodshot. Danna was frozen in shock. At one point, I could tell she wanted this troublemaker to shut up. But ever since he had shouted about their blood relation, her mind seemed to have short-circuited. She tried to interrupt him several times but didn't know where to begin. Nolan, oblivious to the tense atmosphere, sneered after his outburst. looking at me mockingly. Zane, what can you do to me? You and this bastard are the ones who should be kicked out. What right do you have to speak in this house? Get out now with that bastard. Before he could finish, Alvin suddenly lunged at him, punching him in the face and grabbing his collar in a rage. Who are you calling my dad? You bastard. Say that again and see what happens. I'll beat you to death. You dare hit me? Nolan cried out in pain, furious as he and Alvin started brawling. Nolan, pampered for years, was no match for Alvin, who had been delivering takeaways for months. He was almost immediately pinned to the ground and pummeled. Stop it. Stop it, Alvin. Someone's going to get killed. Nolan. Danna tried to pull them apart several times but couldn't separate the two. Mom. Mom. Help me. Help me. Save me. Nolan, blood gushing from his nose, struggled in vain and could only call out to Danna for help. I sneered at his pathetic state. Unable to pull them apart, Danna grabbed my arm desperately. Zane, I'm begging you, they really need to stop. If this goes on, I'll have to call the police. Please make Alvin stop. I shook off her arm coldly, glaring at her. Let them fight. Young lads are hot-blooded. Isn't a scuffle normal? Besides, after all the grief you've caused my son, he's being merciful not beating him to death. The fight ended quickly. Alvin stood up, his face cold as he disgustedly shook the blood off his hands. Even lying on the ground, his head spinning, Nolan still managed to spit out a threat through gritted teeth. Alvin, you're finished. My mum won't let you get away with beating me like this. He wiped the blood from his nose roughly and staggered to his feet, looking to Danna for help. Mom, look what he's done to me. Quick, teach him a lesson. As Nolan looked to Danna full of hope that she would stand up for him, Danna remained silent. Mom, what's wrong? Nolan asked, confused. Danna, almost exasperated, warned him in a low voice. Shut up, Nolan. Just be quiet. Why should I be quiet? They're the ones bullying us. Nolan was defiant, even playing the victim to stir things up. Why aren't you on my side this time? Mom, I say we should kick them out right now. Danna closed her eyes briefly, finally realizing he was beyond help. Faced with Nolan's confusion, I kindly answered on Danna's behalf. You know why she can't kick us out? Because I've always been the head of this household, not her. Your mum has no say in the matter. Nolan scoffed at my words. What are you on about? You're delusional if you think that's true. He didn't believe it at first, but when he saw the guilty look on Danna's face, the color drained from his own. Mum, is this true? No one paid attention to the foolish Nolan Patel. The room fell silent for a moment. I took Alvin Williams' wrist, intending to check the wound he had accidentally scraped while punching earlier, but inadvertently noticed the crisscrossing scars, both old and new, on his arm. Alvin, what's this all about? I frowned, pulling up his sleeve to reveal more and more densely interwoven scars. It was all Nolan's doing. Alvin finally spoke, seemingly embarrassed, after my questioning. Only then did I fully grasp the concept of deliberate oppression that Nolan had mentioned earlier. In an instant, overwhelming anger that I could barely contain surged within me. I gritted my teeth as I addressed Alvin. Today, you're going to tell Dad everything in detail. I want to see exactly how he's been bullying you. At first, Alvin was reluctant to speak, but then he seemed to gather great courage before opening up. The scars on my arm, most of them were made with a ruler. Nolan deliberately sharpened plastic rulers and cut me with them. For the past few years, since entering the prestigious secondary school, Nolan had been constantly bullying Alvin, taking advantage of the fact that Alvin was illegitimate. At the time, the methods were bizarre and ever-changing. Alvin had silently endured it all because he wasn't a biological child, and he hadn't told me thinking I would side with Nolan. My eyes reddened as tears fell, filled with immense guilt. Alvin, it's Dad's fault. You've suffered so much all these years. Seeing me cry, Alvin seemed to be unable to hold back his own tears, choking up as he spoke, yet still trying to comfort me. Dad, don't cry. It's all right. I was heartbroken that I hadn't taken proper responsibility or cared for Alvin, letting him endure silently for so long. Today, Dad will definitely get justice for you. After comforting him, I turned my gaze back to Nolan. By now, Nolan had come to his senses and, noticing my gaze, hurriedly apologized to me. I'm sorry, Uncle Zane. I was too worked up earlier. Alvin, I'm sorry, I've been such a horrible person at school. He was so frightened that tears started falling, looking at Alvin in utter panic. Beside him, Danna Roberts was also crying and whimpering, appearing utterly miserable as if trying to evoke my sympathy. But I had no reason to forgive them, and coldly addressed Nolan. Return everything you have on you right now, including all the assets Danna has given you over the years. I want it all back. Hearing this, Nolan's face contorted for a moment, showing signs of reluctance. Uncle Zane, isn't that a bit unfair? Those things were given to me by my mum. He was starting to feel reluctant now, presumably because he had been relying on Danna's support to act so recklessly before. I let out a cold laugh, my voice devoid of any emotion. You won't return them? Nolan, you're of legal age now, aren't you? If you don't return everything, I'll have you sent to prison. Zane, isn't that going too far? Danna finally spoke up in disagreement. I was wrong to deceive you, but Nolan is still so young. Isn't sending him to prison too extreme? Zane, we've been together for so many years. Surely there's some affection between us. Can't you show some mercy? But it was clear I had no intention of letting Danna off either. I looked at her with immense disappointment. Danna, I always thought you would take good care of our son all these years. The more I trusted you before, the more disappointed I am now. Danna was taken aback, and I took a deep breath before shouting angrily. I won't tolerate you two in Alvin's and my life any longer. You pack your things and get out right now. With that, I immediately took Alvin to the hospital. The door slammed shut with a bang, leaving the two of them in silence inside the room. While the doctor was bandaging him, Alvin still seemed a bit uncomfortable, apparently still feeling awkward about his identity. Dad, can I still call you Dad from now on? He asked softly, and my heart ached. Alvin, remember this. No matter what, you will always be my son. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. I looked at the unfamiliar number with some confusion, and after answering, the caller's tone was very serious. Hello? Is this Mr. Williams? We're from the police. I furrowed my brow and responded, Yes, it's me. What can I do for you, officer? It's like this. We recently arrested a group involved in A-levels cheating, and we found that Nolan Patel, the underprivileged student you're currently supporting, has had financial dealings with them. As his actual sponsor, you need to cooperate with the police and give a statement at the station. Or you can have a lawyer represent you, the voice on the phone said. All right, I understand, I replied, my face grim as I hung up. For a moment, I couldn't shake off the shock. Cheating on the A-levels? How could he even think of doing that? How much nerve does it take to pull something like that off? And he only managed to scrape into a low-ranking university after cheating. Dad! Alvin Williams, clearly having overheard the phone conversation, spoke to me in a low voice. I shook my head, signaling him not to say anything yet. After Alvin's wounds were bandaged, I took him straight to the police station. Just as we were about to speak upon entering the station, Danna Roberts came running in, crying hysterically. Zane, it's terrible. Please, you have to help Nolan. The police have locked him up. It seemed that Nolan had been arrested shortly after Alvin, and I went to the hospital. Danna was beside herself with fear and, seeing me arrive, instinctively grasped at this lifeline. She continued to plead, tears streaming down her face. They're saying he cheated on his A-levels. How is that possible? He's such a good boy. His grades have always been decent. And even though he didn't do well in his A-levels, he was about to start university. Zane, I'm begging you, please help Nolan. You have connections in high places, don't you? I could only respond with a cold laugh. Danna, how hypocritical can you be? You were the one who kept telling me how good Nolan's grades were, and now he's the one who cheated? Do you think I'm a fool? I. Danna stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence for a long while. Finally, she sighed, her voice trembling. I was blinded this time, Zane. I truly know I was wrong. Can't you just help me this once? Seeing that I remained unmoved, she turned to Alvin. Alvin, Mummy really has no other choice. Please, help me convince your dad. Alvin, however, spoke with a cold expression. Except for the A-levels, Nolan's grades in every previous exam came from me helping him cheat. He didn't just do poorly in his A-levels. He's always been academically hopeless. I looked at Alvin in surprise, not realizing he had done such things for Nolan during their school years. Alvin seemed to have reached his breaking point and directly pointed to the wounds on his arm as he spoke. Some of these injuries on my body are from when I refused to help him cheat, and he and his cronies beat me up. I closed my eyes in pain, hearing this. My gaze towards Danna grew even colder. Danna, unable to believe that her usually timid son would deliver such a blow, instinctively lashed out. You're just going to watch me suffer like this? Alvin, you're my son. Alvin, now calm, seemed to have a moment of clarity. I'm not your son, Nolan is. Mrs. Roberts, you only have one son, and that's Nolan. Well said, Alvin. Danna trembled at these words. I didn't hold back my praise for my son's statement, then turned to address the nearby police officer. You've heard everything clearly, right? My son has nothing to do with this matter. If you have any questions, please direct them to my wife. The officer nodded in acknowledgement. After a moment's thought, I added another sentence. Although in a short while, she will no longer be my wife. Danna, who had been in a state of panic, suddenly heard me say this and was completely taken aback. Zane, what do you mean? What do you mean? Danna, you can't possibly think I'd forgive you after this. Can you? I looked at her coldly, a mocking smile curling at my lips. At this point, you don't actually believe we'll continue living together, do you? That's utterly delusional. Danna Roberts' body swayed slightly, unexpectedly showing a hint of regret. But we've been married for almost 20 years. You can't do this to me. At that moment, my phone buzzed with a notification, followed by a call from my assistant. Mr. Williams, I've completed the investigation and sent you the findings in a compressed file. As you suspected before marrying you, Miss Roberts' infertility was due to her promiscuous lifestyle, not the congenital condition she claimed. My brow furrowed in anger as I opened the file, revealing more evidence. As my assistant continued to report, the whole truth surfaced. Before marrying me, Danna Roberts had been quite the party girl, rendering herself infertile. After a painful realization, she decided to reinvent herself. She used her looks and connections to ensnare me. Later, by chance, she learned that one of her ex-boyfriends had passed away. Coincidentally, this was an ex she had truly loved and had even borne him a child. When she heard the child was left without care, she hatched a plan. From starting charity work to specifically going to that village for sponsorship, everything was premeditated. Danna Roberts' sole purpose from the beginning was to raise this child. So far, I've discovered that Miss Roberts has transferred several properties under your name to Nolan Patel, along with cars. Stop! Don't say any more. Danna Roberts, her face ashen, tried to interrupt my assistant loudly. Not hearing a response from me, my assistant continued reporting dispassionately. I've also uncovered records of Miss Roberts frequenting various gentlemen's clubs during your business trips, exclusively booking male models and expensive champagne, with bills reaching hundreds of thousands of pounds. My temples throbbed with anger as I shouted at Danna Roberts. Well, I never imagined you'd be spending my money to make such a fool of me. Danna Roberts had never seen me this angry before. She trembled all over, taking a moment to find her voice, which came out shaky. Zane, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please, give me one more chance. even if it's just for the sake of our years together. I beg you, don't divorce me. Her face was streaked with tears as she clutched my arm, pleading repeatedly. I raised my hands several times to strike her, but couldn't bring myself to dirty my hands. In the end, I just signaled for the officers to pull her away. Zane, you can't do this to me. We're almost at 20 years. How many 20-year periods does a woman have in her life? Danna Roberts struggled, her face full of remorse as she tried to rush towards me. I watched coldly, knowing full well she wouldn't sign the divorce papers in this state. I simply instructed my assistant, prepare to contact my lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. Dad, this time. Alvin Williams stood nearby, hesitating to speak. Patted his head. Let's go back to the hospital. You need to rest properly. I'm not leaving this time. Alvin's eyes finally lit up again. The day before Alvin started school, both Danna Roberts and Nolan Patel were sentenced. Nolan Patel was not only guilty of cheating on his A-levels, but was also implicated in bullying and assault charges, reported by a group of classmates' parents. The court handed down a severe sentence. His life was effectively ruined. The properties, cars, and luxury goods under his name were forcibly reclaimed by the police and returned. For consumables that couldn't be returned, the value was converted into debt. Uncle Zane, please save me. I'm still so young. I can't go to prison, Uncle Zane. I'm the underprivileged student you sponsored. If I go to prison, my life is over. Please, give me one more chance. In the courtroom, he called out to me in the plaintiff's seat, begging loudly. To this, I only gave a cold, dismissive glance, not sparing him a second look. If I could let you off so easily, why would I have hired the best lawyer? As for Danna Roberts, she was naturally arrested for the crime of concealment. It turned out she had known about Nolan Patel's plan to cheat on his A-levels all along, and even those transfers were from her to Nolan. Self-deception leads to self-destruction. Regarding the divorce, Danna Roberts was also ordered to leave with nothing. She now looked withered, her hair disheveled, her entire being a wreck. When the judge announced her previous crimes, she showed little reaction. It wasn't until the announcement of her leaving with nothing that she suddenly let out a terrible scream. No, I object. Why should I leave with nothing? Why? That money is marital property. I should get a part of it. Seeing her unwilling and hateful expression, I finally realized that she had been with me solely for my money all along. Noticing my cold expression, Danna Roberts paused, then forced out an ingratiating smile. Zane, I'm begging you, don't let me leave with nothing. Okay? I've been with you for almost 20 years after all. Hearing her pleading voice, I remained unmoved. She had hurt my son so deeply, I would never forgive her. Alvin Williams in the gallery also remained expressionless. Whatever mother-son bond they had left was now completely severed. As Alvin and I left the court, a luxury car sped by. I followed his gaze into the distance and then chuckled. What? You like it? Well, hurry up and get your driver's license. Then you can take girls for a spin. Dad, what are you saying? Alvin responded, a bit embarrassed. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but tease him. All right. If not girls, you can just enjoy driving it yourself. Can't you? Alvin smiled at this. In that case, I'll take you for a drive first when I pass my test. Deal. You take me first. Our laughter filled the air as we walked into the sunset.